Now, once again, if you'd like to text in your questions or comments for Jane Burgermeister, Amanda Blake and Paul Byrne here on the sofa, why not do so now? See you back here again very soon. Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest on the line from Austria, Jane Burgermeister, and in the studio, Amanda Blake and Paul Byrne. We did have a text that scrolled off the screen now a little while ago that said, you know, this is all circumspect, you know, you can't prove it, it's just scaremongering. I mean...
Well, this is scaremongering as opposed to what the government's doing, scaremongering about the swine flu when less people have died of that than have from the normal flu. So that's scaremongering for a start. So.
OK. So, you know, let's look at what the evidence is then, shall we? Because I'm concerned that people will think, you know, maybe if this doesn't happen...
Which we hope it doesn't. Which,
of course, we all hope it doesn't. But if it doesn't happen, then, you know, will there be egg on your face? Or do you think you'll have changed it by doing what you're doing?
We don't. Well, we've said before, if we're wrong, then laugh at us. That's fine. We don't care. But if the chance this is right... At least we're saying something about it. So if we are wrong, we'll be happy if we're wrong, to be honest with you. We don't particularly want to be spending our time finding out about genocide and, you know, that kind of thing. So if you want to say egg on your face, that's fine, but we'll just be happy if it doesn't happen. But there's too much evidence, and also Jane's had no charges filed against her. If you'd had charges filed against that, like that against you, then you'd be finding the best lawyers in the land to refute that.
Yeah, I'm sure companies like Baxter could employ extremely wealthy lawyers.
But she's heard nothing, and because the evidence is concrete. The documents are there. There's evidence going back.
Okay, let's see if Jane's online still. Jane, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Do you want to say something about that? About the fact you haven't received any kind of official complaints about what you're doing from any of the pharmaceutical companies?
Yes, I mean, Amanda's absolutely right. Unfortunately, and we all wish it weren't the case because we have to spend a lot of energy and time on this ugly subject. There is concrete evidence, and it all began here in Austria, where, you know, Baxter's facilities do have Biosafety Level 3 regulations when handling the bird flu virus. That means it has to be handled in a separate room under negative pressure with double doors, electronic codes. There's no way it can be mixed with normal flu material, let alone with 72 kilos of it. There's no way this mixture can leave these facilities without being irradiated. There's no way it can be sent with a false label to 16 labs. This is like getting 1 million golden bars out of Fort Knox and saying this I accidentally got these 1 million golden bars out of Fort Knox. It just doesn't, you have to plan something like that. You have to circumvent the safeguards. And the evidence of criminal intent is therefore quite clear, and that's why the police investigated. Believe me, they would not have bothered investigating if there was not overwhelming evidence of criminal intent, because the state prosecutor did have the option of putting my criminal charges aside and saying there's not enough evidence. Under Austrian law, he is not bound to launch an investigation. On the contrary, he's only entitled to launch an investigation if there is evidence of a crime, at least sufficient to merit an investigation. So it's quite a high threshold to initiate a police investigation here. Now, that is the evidence here in Austria, absolutely, unfortunately, overwhelming in that particular case. Then if you look at, as I say, all the other things that have been going on, Baxter sitting on the Vaccine Advisory Board of the World Health Organization when it made the decision to recommend vaccinations to the world, you know, Baxter, WHO declaring this pandemic level 6 when there's absolutely no need for it to be declared, then you're beginning to wonder, is this a pattern? Are these activities connected with each other? And unfortunately, you do see a link, and the link is profit. These people are going to profit enormously, politically and financially, from triggering a pandemic and carrying through these forced mass vaccinations. And then you have a classical crime. You have an action, and you have a motive, and you have a method.
OK, I'm going to read out a text here. This is from Claire. She says, how do we all join together to stop this? Political parties are corrupt and the media is owned by a few moguls. Now, Claire, we're going to tackle this. It was a good question, but we're going to do this in the last section. So you're going to bear with us until the last segment of the show. So after the next ad break, we're going to go to that. There's a really good question here from Jim in Larne. This is Northern Ireland, I believe. Perhaps I'll give this one to you, Paul. Are chemtrails anything to do with spreading the virus?
In my opinion, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I came across...
Do you want to talk about what chemtrails are first, for people who aren't aware of them?
Yeah, well, chemtrails... I came across the notion of chemtrails maybe about a year ago, and as well as, you know, other notions like this vaccine thing and things like the New World Order and stuff, you recoil from it and go, there's no way they wouldn't do that, people wouldn't do that. And what they're doing, it appears to be, is spraying us with chemicals. I hadn't seen it for myself. I'd only seen clips of it on YouTube and photographs up until recently. But where I live in Wales, for the last 3 months, they've been out constantly. You can see planes going through the sky with white trails behind them, which is normal. But the normal trail, the normal trail is called a contrail, and it's behind an airplane. Maybe lasts for about 15 seconds. It's ice crystals, and these trails last for hours, and they spread out behind the plane, a much bigger trail than a normal contrail. And if you watch them over time, over an hour or two, instead of disappearing and dissipating, they spread and form a cloud, and they form a cloud maybe, some of them in America have been recorded 60 miles long, and I've seen them stretching from horizon to horizon, which is what, 20 or 30 miles or more.
I've actually seen satellite pictures of them filmed from above. I don't know whether you've seen those.
I've seen those just recently. I've seen satellite pictures of them above the English Channel, and they're parallel lines and then crossed parallel lines, and also circles, gradually increasing circles. So the phenomenon is definitely real. Somebody is spraying something out of airplanes over on top of us for the last few months. It's been going on for years in America, and it's well documented with photographs and videos. People have analysed what's in them, and what's certainly in them, at least, is barium oxide and aluminium oxide.
Barium oxide and aluminium oxide.
Yeah, which are substances which they form micronuclei that will form clouds. That moisture in the air will accumulate on them and form clouds, but they impair the immune system, at least. So, I mean, it's established fact that those substances do impair the immune system, so they're certainly tied into it. I mean, it can't be a coincidence. People call us conspiracy theorists, but I mean, you know, there's a lot of coincidence theorists out there as well, saying, you know, it's nothing to be worried about. But it must be tied. If they're spraying substances over highly populated areas, which have chemicals that impair the immune system, it must be tied to it.
Is it just that? Because there's also, isn't there, some disease, these fibres that people have. Morgellons disease.
Morgellons, yeah.
Which is like, yeah, these tiny little fibres that have got colours in them, like red and blue. And is that anything to do with them?
Apparently, people have found Morgellons or whatever way it's pronounced.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to correct you.
I don't know what way you pronounce it. I wasn't correcting you. But apparently they're part of the substances being sprayed as well. And these things seem to be some sort of fibrous entity, and they're kind of like a polymer. People have examined them and they can't actually figure out what they are. There's a very big question mark over those as well, but they do seem to be related to the chemtrails. I mean, Joni Mitchell is a very famous case who's got...
Joni Mitchell, the singer?
Joni Mitchell has Morgellons, yeah.
I didn't know that.
And some other people have as well. It's very hard to eradicate. I'm not sure if they can eradicate it. It's
and she sang about the destruction of paradise, didn't she?
That's probably why they did it to her. But yeah, she did, so it's ironic that way, poor Joni Mitchell. But definitely the two things are related. I mean, one excuse for chemtrails, I mean, they're officially denied, but sometimes they're officially admitted. And one of the things that they say they might do is a geoengineering thing to combat global warming. So they spray whatever it is, metallic substances, into the air to form clouds to block the radiation coming in, which is an absurd suggestion. That's ludicrous. But if they're going to do that, why don't they spray them over the deserts and over the Sahara? They spray it over where people live. Highly suspicious. I mean, the two are definitely related, in my opinion.
OK, here's an interesting one. This is from James in Pinner. He says, the Gulf War biowarfare vaccines contain the mercury derivative thimerosal, amongst other... I can't understand what you're saying there. And it's also in some swine flu vaccines.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, yes, that's true, yeah.
OK. Somebody in Cheltenham here says he went to see his MP about the trails, the chemtrails, but to no avail.
Yeah, that's happened to someone in Bristol as well, yeah. You don't hear it. I've been in touch with my MP and my local council about this, and they don't, nothing, just get brushed off.
Well, they don't want to know.
Yeah.
Or then they take it somewhere and then they're told, don't ask questions.
Yeah,